By the way, I'm not going to be emotional in this video. I'm not going to take sides. And yes, I know exactly what Russia has done and is doing to provide straightforward, intelligent information. It's important to at least be non-emotional and also not to show extreme bias. So I'm perfectly clear and well aware of, better than a lot of people except for those that are on the ground, obviously so, what's going on. So not taking sides doesn't mean, I know what's going on. Point is to, people want intelligent information. People are not interested in BS, emotion, slant, politics. There's enough of that. Everybody could agree there's enough of that. So I'm not interested in providing more of that for those many, and there are many more reasons than that. By the way, before getting on to the main thing about Russia, I'd like to know your thoughts on the fact that the Food and Drug Administration told many of its top execs, it'd be employees, to gas up their vehicles and go buy food. I've received confirmed information from several people that work at large banking institutions that they should do the same, and that they should brace for a cyber attack within the next few days, if not less. Whether that happens or not, I have no idea. And I'm not a Chicken Little, the sky is falling, doom and gloom person at all, but I just wanted to put that out there. Also, too, before getting on to Russia and Ukraine, has anybody noticed that nobody's talking about the coup anymore? Anybody notice that? And I don't mean that jokingly, although it's kind of humorous. But no one's talking about it anymore. The narrative has fallen on the coup. This is version 2.0 of the coup, which is conflict. That's not funny at all, because what I'm about to say is really serious. And I'll first start out by saying something that I'll end with, and that looking through history, and I'm only 49 years old. I wasn't around for the Cuban Missile Crisis. We've never been closer to World War III right now than we have since the Cuban Missile Crisis. The world hasn't. There's a lot of mistakes being made right now by a lot of different entities. People keep wagging their finger at NATO and the United States, and they, of course, have blame in some of the stuff that I'm about to talk about here. But there are a lot of entities to blame, but I'm not interested in blame. I'm interested in fact analyzation. And I'm really good at weeding out BS. I get sent an enormous amount of just tinfoil hat rubbish, and I'm able to easily dismiss it. Let's first start off by what everybody's talking about. And then Vladimir Putin, said he's put his nuclear deterrence forces on high alert. This is a threat of mere words due to Europe. Also, that was reiterated by his deputy. His name is Lavrov. He actually reiterated that fact. These are threats of mere words due to what the Europe and the United States are doing, where we're shipping over, and has been confirmed by every outlet that exists on this earth, shipping over tons and tons of heavy arms vis-a-vis Stingers and Javelins and other things to Ukraine. Apparently we're getting them across the Polish border, as has been indicated. I made two predictions so far, and they've both proven to be 100% correct. That doesn't mean what I'm going to say in this video is going to be proven out, but it's perfectly logical and entirely sensible. First, I've been saying for a very long time that Russia's going to roll heavy on Ukraine, and I never in my life, of all these videos that I've made, so many people, oh, it's not going to happen. So I'm like, well, it did happen. I said yesterday was an extremely high volume of people on live stream, so I have a tremendous amount of witnesses. I said it over and over and over again yesterday in live stream. I said that watch what happens within the next 72 hours, because Russia has not even started to put the ingredients on the stove, if you will. They really have not. The resistance that we've seen from the Ukrainians, fine, the Ukrainians are, rebelling against, Russia. That's well and fine, but Russia hadn't even cleared their throat yet. Like a singer clears their throat right before they're singing. I said you would see, I said this to hundreds and hundreds of people. There was over 600 people in the live stream last night, that Russia would drastically increase force on Ukraine. I said this to people in live stream. that's proven to be 100% correct. A lot of stuff has actually happened just today, and also 2 indications of what is coming immediately upon Ukraine. A lot of people are being very short-sighted. I mean, whatever anybody thinks about Russia one way or the other, they have not cleared their throat, much less begun to sing, if you will, in Ukraine. They have not. I don't care what anybody feels about Ukraine versus Russia or vice versa. I'm talking about just empirical and existential facts. Right now there are several convoys headed into Ukraine from Belarusia and Russia, and there are plenty of satellite images. Don't take my word for it. Go look them up. They're 40-mile-long convoys. There's 20-plus-mile-long convoy. There's a 17-mile-long convoy. The images on some of these convoys are not just single file of vehicles that long. They're actually abreast by 3. So the convoy is not only many countless miles long, it's not a single string of vehicle after vehicle. They're side by side in a row of 3. They're 3 wide. They're packed 3 wide and that long, headed into Ukraine on several different fronts. There are multiple reports, including video evidence of a thermobaric device being used. I forget the town that it was used in. This is an extremely wicked device, and it's right underneath the nuke itself. There are countless undeniable confirmation. I forget the exact city. It escapes my mind. I should have written that down here. I looked at the city many times of cluster munitions used. Cluster munitions are random. I mean, they're not precise. You know, they basically call it carpet munitions, where you're literally peppering the ground and you're hitting anything and everything, the dog, your brother, your sister. So that has been confirmed. These are supposedly illegal in the use on civilians, but I mean, what's illegal? There's everything is allowed, and what is it? There's no such thing as everything is allowed in love and war, you know, as the old saying goes. So Russia, I must reiterate again, is not a chance in hell Russia is going to back out of Ukraine. It's absolutely impossible. There's only one way that would occur that I could see, only one very, very slight way that would occur, and that is if there were a toppling vis-a-vis the oligarchs or somewhere in the Kremlin of Vladimir himself. But barring that extremely slim happening, it's not going to happen. This is not a proxy war. I don't know if you're aware of history at all, but the United States had a proxy war in Vietnam. I mean, the Russians were supplying Vietnam with munitions to fight Americans as a proxy war. The United States toppled the Soviet Union due to a proxy war in Afghanistan. They even made a movie about it, you know. And they were discreet about it to a point. I mean, the Russians knew what was going on. What the best and finest experts in the world have said that the Kremlin and Putin had assumed was that Germany, because they get so much liquefied natural gas and oil from Russia, that they would split ways with NATO as far as what's going on. But not only did Germany stick with NATO, every expert says the same thing. NATO has gotten super strong. It's like a weak, quasi-dying entity, and now it's incredibly strong. Germany not only joined, but since Germany's been banned from shipping munitions and whatnot abroad due to the fact that they're responsible for World War I and World War II. They're shipping over javelins and stingers. The United States is contributing $400 million of munitions vis-a-vis stingers and javelins. There's 2 other countries that are also contributing. There's been a huge, what every expert says, and they're not wrong, is that Germany was hoping that NATO and Germany would fracture. Russia was hoping that NATO and Germany would fracture, and the opposite happened. This is not a proxy war. The United States, Germany, and several other countries are fast shipping stingers and javelins over the border, and these are designed to do one thing and one thing only. There is absolutely no dispute about this. They're designed to end Russians. I'm not taking any position on that. I'm stating a fact. I'm not, I don't want to see anybody, lose their life. I don't want that at all, but that's what they were designed for. The reason why And there's three reasons why. I mentioned this on Facebook and also too on Instagram, why I said Russia would drastically escalate. I said this yesterday on Sunday, over the next few days and even further than that, but definitely today, and it has happened, and tomorrow will be worse, and the third will be even worse, is that before all of those javelins and stingers can make their way across from Poland, and I think one other entry point, I don't think it's Romania, is that he's moving lightning fast speed, as fast as he can, to bring in as much forces and decapitate the government of Ukraine. Before that happens, also too, he's moving slower than he anticipated, met greater resistance, but once again, Russia has not even begun to clear its throat yet, much less sing, if you will. And by sing, I mean, roll really, really hard on Ukraine. It's costing Russia anywhere between $15 and $20 billion a day to conduct this. They thought they'd be more further along. But regardless of that fact, they will not allow the time. They're not going to putter around all of those stingers and javelins, which are coming in. And Germany is supplying it. Russia, every expert in complete agreement was not... Russia thought that Germany, since they are... using Russia as a lifeline for much of their energy, not much of, but a great deal of their energy, they thought that they would split with NATO on the actions, but the opposite happened. So this is not a proxy war. I'm going to ask you a question, and the answer is bleeding obvious to anybody with a half a brain. What happens when you back a fanged animal into a corner? What happens? It's got nothing left to lose. NATO, the United States, Germany, and two other countries, and possibly others that we don't know about, are literally kicking a large growling dog. Period. They're doing that. And I'm not saying Russia is a dog. I'm just using an analogy here, okay? If you're Russian, I was not calling Russia or anybody in Russia a dog. I have plenty of Russian friends, and I get several Ukrainian friends also. By the way, all of this reeks to high heaven. And the furthest thing away from tinfoil hat, lunacy, and I can't stand the emails that I get on stuff like that. If you got evidence and logic to back it up, I'll always listen to it. It's just wackadoodle stuff. I'm not interested. This reeks so hardcore. It's like COOF version 2.0. The COOF, nobody's afraid of the COOF anymore. Nobody's talking about the COOF anymore, right? If anything good would come out of this, not that it's good, there's nothing good that comes out of conflict, especially what's going on right now. Is that nobody is talking about the COOF anymore. We are closer to World War III than we ever had since the Cuban Missile Crisis. Hardcore. If you follow a chain of events, A leads to B, B leads to C, things are really, really bad. And I'm not saying that Russia should roll heavy all over Ukraine, which is exactly what they're doing. But everybody, not everybody, 99% of the world right now thinks that Russia is, dropping the heavy on Ukraine. And superficially, from the countless thousands of videos all over Twitter and everywhere, it's like, they are. It's like, look what they're doing. This happened and that happened. Look at that atrocity. I mean this seriously. And you better believe me, because I'm 1,000% right on this. I tell you with 1,000% assurance, Russia has not even begun to clear its throat on what it can do and what it will do in the next coming hours and days. Period. There is not even a debate about it. Period. And the fact that the United States and NATO, Germany especially, the Chancellor of Germany, I forget what the sort of rejection that was made, that the German Parliament or whatever that is, said no to shipping in armaments to Ukraine so that Ukraine could fight off the invasion, and the Chancellor, no, so they are shipping that over. Russian ruble lost over 30% of its value. I don't care what you think about Russia or Russians. I lived in Russia for a long time. I don't care I just stick yourself in their mindset. What if you woke up and overnight the dollar was worth 30? For a while there, it was a lot less than 30%. What would happen if you woke up and your Deutschmark or your pound or your dollar was worth 70% of what it was before you went to bed? Once again, we got a giant fanged animal that's in a corner that's growling. And NATO and a few other, NATO, United States, and a few other countries are really, really, sticking it in the ribs to Russia. And it's a response like, well, you've done this invasion, sanction this, sanction that, blah, blah, blah. They're talking about not letting Russian commercial aircraft fly over Canada or Europe, and that, by the way, is a de facto act of war. If that happens, Europe, and especially the United States, I hate to say it, but it's undeniable, are really 1,000% ignorant about Russia and Russians. They really are. I mean, it's really, really sad. And it's just due to propaganda, I don't suffer from this, dirty commie, that sort of stuff. And I'm no fan of communism or socialism for that matter. I don't care about politics, okay? I don't care about that. I don't suffer these delusions that Americans, especially American politicians, are some of the most unintelligent people on this earth, undeniably so. They really are completely ignorant about Russia. Russia promises, and Lavrov reiterated this, that the European Union will face a harsh response for its support of Ukraine. And by support, I mean shipping in tons of advanced military munitions vis-a-vis Stingers and Javelins. Because these devices are being shipped in from the United States across the Polish border and one other country's border. Sorry, I can't remember which, and I'm pretty sure it's not Romania. It could be Hungary, but I could be wrong on that, but definitely across Poland. These are designed and, not designed, but are meant for one thing and one thing only. I'm not interested in what your position on it is, nor mine. Ending Russians. They're designed for ending Russians, like, and, warns the West against supplying lethal weapons. Russia promises EU will face harsh response for support of Ukraine. Here's what's going to happen. Now, of course, they used thermobaric. That's not been confirmed, but they did use cluster munitions, which are just randomly carpeting. They indiscriminately go after anybody, anything. Dog, grandma, anything. That is not targeted. That was confirmed use today by Russia. Multiple convoys. Each convoy over 10 miles long. One of them 40 miles long, over 40 miles long. And two of those convoys, confirmed from satellite pictures, are 3 abreast. Okay, it's not like, vehicle after vehicle heading into Ukraine. They're 3 abreast. It's going to get brutal. Because the Ukrainians themselves have, and every indication from every source on earth confirms, including from the Ukrainians themselves, okay? Demyaslish said that they are going to fight, defend the homeland. Don't take a position on this one way or the other. That with what they're being given to fight with, I mean, that's not a proxy war anymore. It's not like Vietnam, which was a proxy war, and Afghanistan, which was a proxy war. And in Afghanistan, we were discreet because we were shipping in, other than the Stingers, Soviet weaponry to the Afghanis, to fight Russia. Now the entire world, and something that's totally different about this versus Afghanistan or even Iraq, or Iraq, Afghanistan, Vietnam, is now everybody on this earth has a cell phone camera and social media. The world is a whole lot smaller than it used to be. Now everything becomes incredibly apparent to everybody. Everybody's got a camera, they're filming it all. When it starts getting really, really heavy against Ukraine in the next few days, which it is, what do you think those convoys are doing? Coming in to sell ice cream? I mean, really, come on, let's be honest. What do you think? We got 40 miles, 20 miles, all these convoys headed directly into the heart of Ukraine. What do you think they're doing? What? United States, NATO, and I know what Russia's doing in Ukraine, okay? I'm not interested in taking a position on this, even though the position is kind of blatant to anybody with 2 eyes and a half a brain. Just talking about empirical facts, like You know, there are people, and I used to play chess. I was a chess champion in high school. I haven't played chess in forever, but you could see 2 or 3, 4 moves ahead. You know, that's what made you a good chess player. Seeing 2 moves ahead on what's happening in Ukraine, because Russia's not going to back down. It's not going to happen, girlfriend. It's not. So you have 2 things, and humorously, and it's not humorous at all, what happens when you have a immovable object meets an unstoppable force. Russia's not going to back down. The United States, Germany, and 2 other countries confirming sending in tons of advanced munitions to do one thing and one thing only: end Russians. Like that. All of this playing out in 10 gazillion cell phones in Ukraine. Yeah? To the rest of the world. What do you think Russia's going to do? I don't care what you think about Russia one way or the other. Huh? What do you think they're going to do? The world has never been closer to World War III. Actually, I think we're closer, way closer, actually, than the Cuban Missile Crisis. Way closer than the Cuban Missile Crisis. Whew. Once again, I'm not a doom and gloomer. I'm not a Chicken Little, the sky's falling per person. Not any way, shape, or form. I'm not like that at all. There is a lot of stuff building to a head here, like one of those, I've seen videos of it accidentally on TikTok, yeah? I don't really watch TikTok. I think I saw it on Instagram. Like somebody had like this giant pimple on the back of their neck, like this big. And that's what's going on in Ukraine right now. And you got NATO and the United States and Germany and 2 other countries sitting here poking this gigantic, obnoxiously titanic zit. It's just ready to... You know, Afghanistan is not a nuclear country. Neither was Vietnam. Yeah. Neither is Ukraine now. They gave them up like the mid-1990s. This isn't like some sort of quiet proxy war that's going on. The whole world knows, at least anybody that knows what's going on. Anyway, all of this reeks to high heaven. Actually, what it does is it reeks to high hell. Tell me what you think. I read every comment. But so far I've been 100% right. I don't want to be right on this, because being right on this means that everybody loses. And by everybody, I mean everybody! I hope I'm wrong on this, because I don't want to be right on this. I don't want to be right this time. I want to get it wrong. I'd love to get it wrong on this one. I don't want to be right on this one. Shit.